Hello everyone. Now we are going to see the poetical type, the ode. Here we go. Distinguishing features. So what are the features of ode? The ode is of Greek origin. It is a serious and dignified composition. Okay, it is of serious and dignified composition, always in rhyme and longer than the lyric. So it is always in rhyme. It has rhyming scheme, rhyming word, rhyming pattern and all, and longer than the lyric. When we compare ode and the lyric, the ode is the longer one than the lyric, often in the form of an address. So it is written in the format of addressing someone, somebody, or something. Okay, and then characteristics. It is exalted in subject matter. So the subject matter of the ode will be in that exalted manner, elevated in tone and style. So since the subject matter is in exalted form, definitely the tone and style will be elevated. That is, the language will be enriched. Okay, so we could see the enrichment of the language in the ode. Poet is serious in the choice of his subject and manner of its presentation. So, since the language of the ode is very exalted and elevated, the poet should be very cautious and serious while choosing his subject and the manner of his presentation. Okay, full of deep and sincere emotion. So, ode is something related to heart and not to the intellect. So, it is full of deep and sincere emotions. It is often addressed directly to the being or object it treats. So, there is nothing in an indirect form. Everything is addressed directly. So, it is often addressed directly to the object or being. It address uh, either human beings or any things for that matter. Okay, example: Shelley's Ode to the West Wind, Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn, Tennyson's To Virgil, Marvel's Upon Cromwell's Return from Ireland. These are the examples that we could give for the poetical type, the ode. And then the mode is maintained throughout in each case. So throughout the ode, the mode is maintained. Okay, we could see the mode is maintained throughout the ode. The Dorian or Pindaric ode. Actually, the Greek ode has two forms. So it is divided into two forms. The first one is Dorian ode. The another one is Lesbian ode. So Dorian ode. So from where it gets its name? It gets its name from, so called, from the district and dialect in which it arose. So either the Dorian may be the name of the district in which it arose or the name of the dialect in which it arose, whatever may be, either the district or dialect. Okay, and then Lesbian ode, named after the island of Lesbos. So here lesbian, I want to convey one thing. So here we are not referring to some other thing. Here we are referring only the lesbian ode. So you should not take another meaning for the word lesbian. Named after the island of Lesbos. It seems that there was an island named Lesbos. So the lesbian ode is named after that island. And then Dorian ode is a choric. So it was sung by a group of people. So Dorian ode is a choric one. Structure borrowed from the movements of the dances. Since it is a choric, definitely it will be accompanied by a group of dancers. So the structure of the Dorian ode is borrowed from the movements of the dancers. Consisted of three parts: strophe, antistrophe, and epode. So this one, the Dorian ode, consists of two parts. That is, three parts. So the first one is strophe, the next one is antistrophe, and the third one is epode. So in one part, the dancers will move from left to right. In the another one, the dancers will move from right to left. In another part, that is in epode, the dancers will stand still. Okay, and then could be repeated any number of times in an ode. So these three parts, that is strophe, antistrophe, and epode, could be repeated n number of times. So we can repeat the number of times as much as we want. And then Gray's Odes, the progress of poesy and the bard. So this is an example for Dorian Ode. And then brilliant used by the ancient Greek poet Pindar. The Dorian form is more usually known as the Pindaric Ode. So we have already seen that the another name for Dorian Ode is Pindaric Ode. So why it is named as Pindaric Ode? So it was brilliantly used by the ancient Greek poet Pindar. So only on the remembrance of him, this ode is named as Pindaric Ode. So usually we call the Dorian Ode as Pindaric Ode. Next one, the Lesbian or Horatian Ode. How the Dorian Ode has another name, Pindaric Ode. Likewise, the Lesbian Ode also has its another name, Horatian Ode. The Lesbian Ode was simpler in form. So it is a simpler one. So when we compare the Lesbian Ode and the Dorian Ode, the Lesbian Ode is a simpler one. Consists of a number of short stanzas. So it has many stanzas, but every stanza is a short one. Similar in length and arrangement. So though it has numerous stanzas, all these stanzas has same number of lines and all these stanzas are arranged in a definite structure. Thought was clearly developed. So we couldn't see any incomplete sense in the thought. So the thought is clearly developed. There is well development of thought. Popularized in London by two great Roman writers, Horace and Catullus. So Horace and Catullus are the Roman writers who popularized this type of ode in Latin. Example, again they are giving the example of Andrew Marvell's Upon Cromwell's Return from Ireland. Okay. And then the ode in English literature. Okay. Either regular, consisting of a series of exactly similar stanzas like the odes of Shelley and Keats, or irregular, when each stanza follows a different arrangement, as in Wordsworth's Immortality Ode and several of the odes of Tennyson and Robert Bridges. So there will be difference in the arrangement of the ode. So just it's a simple thing, that is two types. Only there are two types of arrangements. One thing is the arrangement will be in a regular format. So like similar stanzas, that is we have already seen in the Lesbian Ode, right? So all these stanzas will consist of the same length and arrangement. Likewise, this is one type of arrangement, that is regular arrangement, or in otherwise the stanzas will be of irregular format. So for regular format, they have given the example of odes of Shelley and Keats. For irregular format, we could see Wordsworth's Immortality Ode or the odes of Tennyson and Robert Bridges. Okay. Next, we are moving on to the idyll. This is another type in poetic device. So what are its features? Idyll, not a distinct species. So it is not a distinct species. Okay. Sometimes lyric, sometimes a longer poem. So it is not a totally a different one. So the idyll is sometimes a lyric, sometimes a longer poem. And then it has no set form. Since it is sometimes lyric and sometimes longer poem, it has no set form for its own. Derives its name from a Greek word meaning a little picture. So the word was derived from a Greek word. Okay. The meaning of that word, that is idyll. The meaning of the word idyll is a little picture. Okay. Example, Milton's El Allegro, Wordsworth's Lines Written in March. Okay. These are the examples for the idyll. Style and treatment. Idyll, not a mere objective description. Okay. It is not something objective description. Objective in the sense general. Okay. A common point of view. So this is not a mere objective description. They are not describing anything in a random manner. Okay. It is mere description of facts. Only the information which is true, or only the facts are described in the idyll. Language is carefully chosen. So whatever the work we write, whatever the journal may be, we should be very cautious with the our language, and especially with the choose while choosing the words. Okay, here too language is carefully chosen. Like ode, this one idle is also direct and straightforward. And then subject of idle. Earliest idols, Greek poet Theocritus. So Theocritus is a Greek poet. So he was his works were very famous, and then his works were stand as a role model and masterpiece for all the upcoming idols. So these were the earliest idols. So we could give this Theocritus works as an example for earliest idols. And then English literary practice limited the scope of the idol to the treatment of lowly life in town or village. So it was popularized and it was followed in other countries, but when it comes to England, the practice of England writers, they have limited its scope. So they have limited its subject matter. Only the subject matter will be will be focused on the town and village life. Okay, how the people live their life, those who are living in town or village, how their mentality and what are their habitual actions. So this is what their subject matter will be. So they have limited the scope, and they have limited the subject matter. Okay, this is what idol is. Now we are going to see the elegy. Okay, what is mean by elegy? Elegy is especially written when we are mourning for someone or somebody which or who is lost. Okay, scope. Elegy covered war songs, love poems, political verses, lamentations for the dead. So these are all the subject matter. So if the subject matter or the theme of the poem is war song, that is especially during the war time, elegies were written as an enormous one. Okay, and then love poems, because how you are saying that love poem is an elegy? Because while writing a love poem, if the hero or the heroine is dead, definitely it is considered as an elegy. So writing a poem on the remembrance of his or her love who is lost. Okay, so that will come under the category of elegy. And then political verses. Okay, and then lamentations for the dead, it's the main one. Okay, these are all the scope for elegy. And then the Greeks judged this composition by its form, not by its subject matter. So how they are judging the composition, they are giving importance only to its form, and they are not giving any importance to its subject matter. And then written in the elegiac measure. Okay, so it is written in the elegiac measure. Since it is an elegy, it is written in elegiac measure. And then modern connotation. In modern usage, it is the theme that matters, not the meter. So nowadays we are giving importance only to the theme, but we are not giving any importance to the meter. So because nowadays we have lots and lots of various types of poems, because we have mainly we are using free verse, because free verse or blank verse, where we don't have to follow any type of meter or rhythm. We can write and we can express our free flow of thoughts as it is through writing. Okay, so we are giving importance only to the theme and not to the meter. An elegy takes its name from its subject matter, not from its form. Okay, how name is given for an elegy? It is given only from its subject matter, not from its form. So if a person is writing a work, so he wants to name that work. How he will name? If he uses any other type of form, like if he uses the stanza forms, we can take any stanza form as an example. We can take a Spenserian stanza. So he employs Spenserian stanza in his work. So whether he names it according to the Spenserian stanza which he used it in his work? Definitely no. He will name his work only based on the subject matter in which he wrote. Okay, so this is what they have given. No rules are laid down for the meter. As I have already told, now we are mostly following the free verse. So there are no rules. Okay, nowadays the modern writers are not following any kind of rules. Okay, theme of an elegy must be mournful or sadly reflective. The only thing is the theme must be sad one. Okay, written as a tribute to something loved and lost. I have already told. Written as a tribute to on the remembrance of someone or somebody which or who is loved and lost. It is not necessary that the person that it should be a person. If we have more love towards a particular thing, okay, but it is lost, it is permanently lost, then we can write by considering that thing as a subject matter. Okay, and then less spontaneous than the lyric. Since it is a mournful one, it is less spontaneous. We cannot get the overflow of thoughts. Okay, we cannot get the spontaneous flow of thoughts. It is somewhat lesser spontaneous than the lyric. Elaborate in style like the ode. Definitely if we write a work, we want to elaborate. So how if a person is writing an elegy for by mourning for the death of his friend, okay, definitely he will elaborate every single incident which is related to their friendship. Okay, so elaborate in style. Poet is not limited to any one form. We have already seen that no rules are laid down. Okay, there are no rules. Okay, so they can their poet is not limited to any one form. So example, Grace elegy written in a country churchyard. So this is one of the best examples for elegy. Features. Sometimes death is the inspiration and sole theme, at other times it is merely the common starting point from which poets have launched various themes. Sometimes death will be the only theme in a particular work. Sometimes the death will be dealt with only in the starting point, but in the later stanzas, the poets have diverted from the theme of death to various themes. But that theme also should be mournful, because the main matter should be mournful for an elegy. Okay, and then to quote an example, Milton's Lycidas, an elegy. He has written this elegy on the death of a learned friend, Edward King. So on the death of his friend Edward King, who is a learned person, so he has written for the death of him. And then another example, Tennyson's In Memoriam. So he has also written this elegy for the death of his friend. His name is Arthur Hallam. Okay, and then Matthew Arnold's Rugby Chapel. So it is also an elegy, but it is he has written it when he visits his father's grave after 15 years of his death. So Matthew Arnold's father has died 15 years before, but when he visits his father's grave after 15 years, he has written this elegy, Rugby Chapel. Okay, grief is the dominant emotion in the early part of the elegy. So in the early part of the elegy, we could see only the grief as the dominant emotion, because sad is the main theme for an elegy. So grief should be the dominant emotion. Expresses his faith in immortality and future reunion. When we read the work of Matthew Arnold's Rugby Chapel, we could see his faith in immortality. Okay, what his faith regarding immortality and future reunion. This we could find only when we read Rugby Chapel. And then Shelley's Adonais. He has written on the death of Keats. So Keats, Shelley, they have lived during the same age. So when Keats died, Shelley has had written this elegy titled Adonais. The pastoral elegy. Pastoral is something related to village shepherds. Okay, so during Renaissance, poet represented himself as a shepherd bewailing the loss of a companion. So here, during the time of Renaissance, poets have represented themselves as a shepherd, and they have written the works for bewilderment of the loss of a companion. Manner of speech and the setting were borrowed from rustic life. So pastoral, the shepherds, they live only in the village. So the setting and the speech will be more of the rustic life. Example, Milton's Lycidas and Matthew Arnold's Thyrsis. So these were the best examples for the pastoral elegy. Originated with Theocritus. So the type pastoral elegy, it was originated mainly by Theocritus. This one, Idylls and Epigrams, these were the earliest poems which were written by Theocritus. Okay, next, perfected later by the Latin poet Virgil, Eclogues and Georgics. Okay, so it was firstly used by Theocritus, but it was perfected by the Latin poet Virgil in his work Eclogues and Georgics. And then after he perfected, it was fell out of use. It seems that it was outdated. So it was out of use for long time. Again, it was revived in Italy during 15th and 16th century. So it has taken its form again. Okay, during 15th and 16th centuries in Italy. And then with Spenser's Shepherd's Calendar, we all know that Spenser has written a work titled Shepherd's Calendar. So he had employed this pastoral elegy. We could see from its title itself, the title is named as Shepherd's Calendar. So everything should be will be related to shepherd. So with the Spenser Shepherd's Calendar, the pastoral elegy again taken its root in English soil. Okay, with this the elegy ends. Okay, if you have any doubt, you can post it in the comment box regarding doubts regarding any of the poetic types which I have discussed earlier. Okay, thank you for watching.